All right, so welcome to Free and Alive Consulting or Coaching. I empower women to embrace their identity in Christ so they can move on from past hurts and live joyful and fulfilled lives. My name is Jules, and I'm glad that you chose to be a part of healing the heart of the empath. And so, welcome. I'm going to do this lesson, especially for those who missed today's lesson. It's my inaugural coaching program, so there's going to be some glitches in how we do things, but I totally understand that some of you were not able to make it, so I decided just to record it so that you can have at least the lesson part. I said I will not be recording our sessions because some people share some pretty sensitive information, and I want people to feel free and open. But sometimes when people are being recorded, they don't really feel free to express themselves, and so that's why just for this time around, I'm gonna just record the lesson part. Hopefully on Thursday that all of you will be there for our meeting. And so I just wanted to share with you what the structure of our Zoom call is going to be. Is we're going to begin with a prayer, and then we're going to have introductions and talk about the guidelines, and then we'll have a 3-minute share. During this 3-minute share is basically you're going to be talking about your assignment that you had. Either if you've written it down, you just share it with a group. If you don't feel free to open up and share, that's okay, but we encourage everybody to share their assignment. And then we'll go through the lesson, and I'll give you the new assignment for the following week. And then we'll have a Q&A session, and then end with the Serenity Prayer. So here is the guidelines for the Zoom call. I do encourage all of us to be on camera. In our first meeting, not everybody was able to be on camera, but hopefully that the next time all of us will be on camera and participate. I'll go over these guidelines every single meeting so that we're all on the same page. So I don't need to go over it right now, but this is something that I'll do for every meeting. And so this course is for overcomers like you who are ready to break the cycle of unhealthy relationships and find freedom and purpose. You will also gain insights and resources for your own coaching practice. The course is Bible-based and Christ-centered. Healing takes time and it must be intentional. So together we can uncover your blind spots so that you can mature and grow spiritually. The goal is to be whole and complete as an individual, regardless of what your status is. So I know we as empaths or people who are perfectionists or overachievers, it really is hard for us to say that we need help. And so most of us heal while in the process of helping others. And that's why this course is designed to give you the tools that you need so that you can also walk with others in their own healing journey. And so this is kind of like what is the structure of this course. I already talked about it. We have a one-on-one calls, which is valued at $5.99, and you also get a book, 40 days and nights, which you can download. And then I just wanted to let you know that this is an inaugural course, so you are getting a discounted price for this. And in exchange, I really want your feedback so that I can improve this program for the next group that's going to be taking this course. And your feedback is very, very important. And we'll stop doing we'll have a check after part 1. After week 1, you'll give me your feedback and what things that need to be changed. And then on week 2, I'll get your feedback as well. And then we'll get your feedback for the overall course about your experience and how it changed. So please be ready to give your written feedback, but also on camera. Maybe on our last day, we'll take a video and you guys can talk about your experience. And so you guys mostly have downloaded the book. The course material is 40 Days and Nights, and most of you have it. If you don't, I will be emailing that to you. And on today's call, the first thing we opened up is, I showed you this image and I asked what is happening on the left, and what has happened on the right here. On the left, we see a cactus in a relationship with a balloon, which is obviously a very dysfunctional relationship. As you can imagine, they have to keep a distance, because what happens if they embrace one another, the balloon will pop. So this relationship cannot experience the intimacy that that relationships are supposed to have, because you have thorns. And what are those thorns? Thorns are pain and hurt that we've grown up with all our lives, but it has festered into bitterness. And in fact, as you can see, this cactus has no idea that they even have thorns, or even their impact of what they're doing to the other person. And I'll give you a personal testimony. My relationship, when I got in, I didn't realize that I was definitely the cactus in this relationship, because I would point fingers, I would yell, I would scream, I would lash out in a very immature way. And what I came to realize later is I hadn't healed from a wound that was inflicted when I was 14 years old. So that pain that I carried since I was 14 years old, I did not mature emotionally. I pretty much stayed as a 14-year-old in terms of emotional maturity. Yes, I grew. Yes, I was 35 and 36 years old, and I was successful in my job. I'm intelligent. I'm able to do so many other things, but emotionally, I was lagging behind. And that was a result of the bitterness and the pain that I held for so long. So we also discovered that even though I'm the cactus in this relationship, but I could be a balloon in another relationship. Someone could be the cactus, and like I could have a sibling, for example, who is inflicting pain on me. Maybe they're cussing me out, they're very volatile, maybe emotionally abusive. And so I'm taking all that and 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 then now in this relationship, because now I've built the thorns, I become the cactus in this relationship. So some relationships will look different. Maybe your mom was the cactus and you are the balloon while growing up, and so now you've actually now become the cactus in that relationship, if you understand what I'm saying. So on the second picture, what have we seen is how does a relationship where the people have healed, what does it look like? It looks like the the balloon and the cactus have worked together to get the corks out of the bottles. If you see down here, there's a bunch of bottles and they've taken the corks out, and it's like all those thorns represent different areas in our life that need to be healed. So you have emotional wounds, and you put the stopper there, and that means that you're not prickly anymore. And that's what the healing process looks like. As you can see, the cactus has so many areas that need healing, and that's how it looks like in my life. It looks like once you've healed, once you put the cork in one of those thorns, then another area opens up, and then you have to heal that. So that's what happens. I remember healing from my relationship with my father, my mother, healing from a relationship with my sister, healing from a relationship with a relative, healing from the shame and the abuse that came from being molested as a kid. Maybe a teacher told you that you're good for nothing. You are bullied when you're growing up. I mean, there is so many different wounds. You have wounds of, even talk about racism. You experienced discrimination, 1,000 different thorns and areas that need healing. So as you can see, you can do this for the rest of your life. But in that relationship, you work together to heal each other. That's my hope, is that if you're in a marriage, the whole point is that you heal together and you help each other to heal. So healing the heart of the empath, what is the definition of the empath in this in the context of this lesson, in the context of this program? We recognize that the empath must change in order to heal. So we're not pointing and saying, oh, I was with a narcissist that they need to change. No, we're pointing and looking at ourselves and how we need to change. Yes, we've been hurt and healed, but it takes two people to cause pain in a relationship. And so in the clip, the thorns represents the harsh criticisms that most Christians use to show others that they are right, even when their words don't show empathy. They are the modern day Pharisees. Basically, what I'm saying is that even an empath could be maybe a Christian who feels that they are a good person, but they're constantly pointing fingers at the other person, criticizing them, condemning them, and saying all sorts of things that are not healthy, even though you are right, but you're not really an empathetic person. If you look at it, like there was a difference between Jesus and the Pharisees. The Pharisees were always the people pointing fingers. They weren't looking empathetically at the pain that the people were going through. Give an example of the guy who had been healed. After 38 years of sitting in this mat and waiting for healing, when they see him carrying the mat, they ask him, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be carrying a mat. It's the Sabbath day. Instead of empathetically just rejoicing with the man that he had been incapacitated for 38 years and now he's walking, they were not celebrating the healing. They just want to be right. They want to point out that it's the Sabbath day, you're not supposed to be carrying the mat. So a lot of the goody two-shoes, or people who think they're already good in themselves, they don't see how blinded they are to their own sin. They just want to see the sin of others. And so when I talk about the empath in the context of this program, is we're talking about people who are so blinded to their own issues because they keep looking at other people. Empaths are the people who are their therapists, psychologists, their coaches. They're people who are not aware of their own issues, but they want to help other people. And it's at a really dangerous place to go when you don't know that you yourself need healing and help. Next, so I wanted to talk about certain areas that I needed you guys to focus on in the book for this lesson. Is day one is in the book is the gist of gender. But the bottom line for this is I want you to see toxic femininity. Is what toxic behavior did you bring into the relationship? For me, like I shared before, I used to yell and disrespect my husband. Even though I was right, the manner in which I handled myself showed a lot of spiritual immaturity. I knew that I had to change. So think of your relationship in the context of a courtroom. I want you to imagine that your husband is the judge and you are an attorney who has been assigned a case in this courtroom. I want to look, maybe the court, the people in the court, maybe you are your children. So the whole courtroom is representing your marriage. And I put your husband as the judge because in the context of the Christian marriage, the husband is the head of the household. So I want you to see yourself as maybe an attorney or that who has been assigned a case. Now, it doesn't matter how sinful the judge is. It doesn't matter what you know about what they do in the background. Once you enter into that courtroom, there's a certain way that you need to act and address the judge. So what happens is, at times we go in there and we look at him, you're like, I'm not respecting him. Like, what do you mean, Your Honor? You go, Your Honor, yeah, whatever, with your attitude. Sometimes we point fingers. You say, I'm not going to call you Your Honor. And or you say, I'm not going to act like this because I know what kind of guy you are. So maybe you can sit down, imagine yourself sitting down in the courtroom, you put your feet up, you have chewing gum, and you're loud, you're completely disrespectful of the courtroom because of what you think you know about the judge or what you really know about him. Maybe they could be an addict, maybe they could be drinking, they could be sleeping around. I'm not advocating and saying that that guys should not be doing these things, but it doesn't matter which relationship you will be in. Men will always do a lot of things that you do not approve of. So it's the point is, how are you going to react when you know what kind of a person that they are? You have a choice. The Bible says that a wise woman builds her home, but a foolish one tears it down with her hands. So honestly, if I came into a courtroom and I just walked in, I saw the judge sitting there, and all I saw was you as the attorney with feet up, completely disrespecting the courtroom, completely pointing fingers at the judge, yelling at them, chewing gum, not even dressed appropriately. I'm going to look at you. What are you doing? How are you behaving? And it's, and you can maybe give all sorts of excuses and say, you know what, it's the judge who is like this or like that. That's not the whole point. It doesn't matter which courtroom you go to, there are certain protocols and there's certain behavior that is required of you. And so that's when I remember when I had that vision, that's what helped me change who I was. Because honestly, it didn't matter which relationship that I was going to be in, I couldn't behave like that. Even with my boss, can you imagine me going to work? Maybe I know that the boss is not a fair guy, or I know that maybe he steals money on the side. If I went to my boss and I pointed fingers at him and be like, don't talk to me like that, you know who I am, with an attitude, I'm probably not going to last in that job. So I got to learn, and it comes with spiritual maturity, how to handle different situations and how to handle yourself. And that's now that leads to the next day. Day 2 is talking about spiritual maturity. And I list a list of 10 different characteristics of an immature person, or it could be 10 different characteristics of areas that you need to grow in. And it's some of this you may be really good at, and some of them you still need some help on. But the one that I want to point at, a lot of times as empaths, we don't think that we struggle with, or we don't think that we have an issue, is lack of empathy. We always say the narcissist is the one who lacks empathy because they're always ignoring us, giving you just an example. But lack of empathy, I want you to see it as, you may not see it as lack of empathy because you're correcting others. For example, when someone is hurting and clearly suffering the consequence of their behavior, you twist the knife with constant accusations and condemnation. The first thing when you see someone is suffering, maybe from the effects of alcohol, maybe a teenager who's become pregnant, or someone who has become homeless because they were lazy and didn't want to get a job, the first thing you want to do is empathize with them in their situation. It really is not helpful if you come and tell them, I told you you are not supposed to be sleeping around. I told you to get a job. I told you that you should not have been smoking. That's why you're here in your deathbed suffering with lung cancer. And you can't be like, just because someone is in pain going through lung cancer, you can't tell them. It's not the time to go and start giving them a lecture on and how much you know about smoking and the effects it has on their lungs. It's not the time to start showing yourself how much you know. It's time to empathize with them in the pain that they're going through. That's the first thing. And in fact, if you're ever going to be a coach, the first thing to do is not to come judging somebody because of how they're living. Remember, by the time someone leaves a relationship, gets a divorce, and you need to know that there have been years and years of pain that they've been going through. This is like the last resort when they're like, I'm out of here. So the first thing you do is just really empathize with them. And that's one of the problems that we've had in this in the Christian church is when you don't have people who are spiritually mature, the first thing they do is condemn, is to accuse. Like I said, the modern day Pharisee is just someone who has not spiritually matured. So these are 10 areas. I encourage you to look at them in the book. Misplaced anger, victimization. That means you're constantly always blaming others, even for the mistakes that you're making. Maybe you've become promiscuous, but you're blaming that maybe you were molested as a kid, but for 20 something years you're just engaged in promiscuity, but you're always blaming that person. And that's what I did. I remember blaming the person who molested me when I was a kid and making excuses for all those years of promiscuity. That's not really going to be helpful in your maturity. And so instant gratification, egocentrism, hostility, deception and manipulation, blood boundaries, superficiality, arrogance, all these are areas of spiritual immaturity that we need to look at. And these are some of the blind spots that I'm talking about. So as you go through the book, look at it and evaluate yourself and see which areas that you need to work on. And when we do our one-on-one phone call, maybe these are some of the things that we can talk about. Of course, there are other areas that you can read. There's day 1 to day 7. On day 7, you'll come across a thing that says mapping your spiritual journey. And this is the assignment that I was talking about. It will go into detail. The age of innocence, you need to write down what it was like when you were a kid, those happy days before your innocence was taken. Death of innocence is what there's got to be something that happened when you were young, when you were a teenager, that really defined you, that really kind of was the thing that the devil used to now start tapping into your identity and put lies into it. And so maybe you've built your whole identity on a lie based on what happened to you as a kid. The descent is the time of the period where you use that incident as an excuse for all the horrible things that have happened to you, all the dysfunctional relationships that you've been in. And then there's gotta be a point where you hit rock bottom. For me, rock bottom was at the end of my marriage. And I was like, that was for me was rock bottom, where I really said, I'm going to change my life around. And then where are you in your journey back? Sometimes maybe you're not in your journey back, you're stuck at rock bottom. Some of you may be at rock bottom right now, where you feel like your marriage is hanging on a thread. You're about to lose everything completely. What is that? Where are you in your spiritual journey? And then return back to innocence. And during our one-on-one call, if you feel stuck at any particular point, we'll talk about that in our one-on-one call. So this is what you're going to share when we do our 3 to 5 minute share in our next lesson. We're just going to open up with we're just going to go through the prayer and the guidelines and so forth, introducing ourselves. And before we get into the lesson, this is your 3 to 5 minute share. All right, next, at the end of every meeting, we always end with the Serenity Prayer. But before we do the Serenity Prayer, there's always a question and answer session, and you can ask whatever questions you want. The Serenity Prayer goes like this: God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace, taking as he did the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. And amen. So there we go. I'm glad that you're able to be all caught up and know some of the things that we talked about during our meeting. And I will see you next time. God bless you so much. And if you're watching this, maybe I sent it to you as maybe you want to know what the structure of this course is, and if you want to sign up, and I'm just gonna give you only maybe until, well, today is Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I'm gonna give you till Monday for you to sign up. That's November 16th. Maybe I'll make that the deadline for you to be able to sign up for this course. And it's going to be a 5-week course. I'll maybe open up maybe 2 more spots. If you really, really need it, then you can sign up and I'll open up 2 more spots. Email me or send me a message on WhatsApp if you want to be a part of this program. God bless you so much. And you can reach me at julesmuya@gmail.com or send me a message through Facebook. My handle is Jules Muya. Thank you.